OK, let's go back to our second top story so far here on the News Hour of the Morning. The day after the night before, we're talking about the Trump-Biden debate. Of course, let's speak now to Jack Kingston in New York. He's a surrogate for President Trump and formerly a US congressman from the state of Georgia. Jack, welcome back. Good to talk to you again. The FBI director,
Thank you,
a couple of months ago, said white supremacists in the United States are the #1 terror threat to the United States. Given that, why didn't Mr. Trump reject and repudiate everything that white supremacists stand for?
Well, I actually think he did reject them and has denounced them previous to last night. We did not hear Joe Biden denounce an Antifa. In fact, he said Antifa is an idea, not even an organization. And of course, law enforcement group after group has said Antifa is a huge problem, and it is a real group. It is an organized group. And Joe Biden almost embraced them. I was shocked at it. I think, Peter, that if it was you or me, we probably would have made our positions clearer than either candidate did. But I know that President Trump actually said, well, what is it that you want me to say about the white supremacist group? Because I know that he has denounced them and he's not afraid.
Jack, just to pause you there, Jack. I watched the entire debate on replay because of the time difference between where I am and where you are. If Mr. Trump denounced the Proud Boys, white supremacists, why have they literally taken stand back, stand by, and they have incorporated it into their online emblem and they are talking about it? Because stand by is not the same thing as stand down. Stand down means go away. Stand by means get ready.
You know, I think all these terrorist groups need to be dealt with and dealt with severely, and the law should be blind when it comes to dealing with them. And I'm not defending this group at all, but you don't see them doing the type of things that we're seeing in Seattle and Portland and Chicago and New York City, which some of these other left-wing groups are doing, which have caused the death of many people. They've taken over towns, they've destroyed property. These are left-wing groups that are causing the major disruption.
Where and when have these left-wing groups caused the deaths of many people across America? Name me cities, give me dates.
Two deaths in Seattle, two deaths, and then a police officer, I believe, in Louisville. But there have been a number of deaths associated with left-wing protests. So there's no gray area to that whatsoever. But listen, I want to go hand in hand. If groups want to get rid of these hard left, hard right extremist groups that are destroying property and hurting people, I think that's one thing we all should be able to unite about.
OK, but the starting point for this kind of debate that Mr. Trump came out fighting with, because he clearly came out in his mind not to have a presidential debate. He came out to have a boxing match. And simultaneously to the debate happening, we had his son, I watched it on, I think it was MSNBC, Donald Jr. talked about on live national TV about the Charlottesville hoax. What was the Charlottesville hoax? There was no hoax. A woman was killed because somebody hit her with a car. That's not a hoax.
It absolutely is not a hoax, and I'm in agreement with you. What the hoax was, and Chris Wallace repeated this line, which has been proven time and time again, is not the case. The president said people who are debating taking down Confederate statues, that there are good people on both sides. He never referred to the white supremacists and the other protesters as good people on both sides. It's been a left-wing lie that has been perpetuated by the press who can't stand Trump. But if you go back and listen to what he said, and I actually was working for CNN, not just that time, but that very day, and I heard him say it live, that there were good people on both sides of the debate regarding statues. And I don't know why the left can't just stay in substance rather than come up with accusations like this. But you know what? Where I think that there is plenty of room for discussion were some of the issues that we did not get into, like the handling of COVID or health care or the Supreme Court. There were so many, I think, lost opportunities that the debate got out of Chris Wallace's control.
Okay.
And you know, they should almost have a mute button for both candidates sometimes. And I've been
That might be a really good idea. Can we just talk for a minute or so about the tone and the feeling of the debate? You know, I mean, you and I had a conversation on this program 4 days ago. You're clearly a conviction politician. In a parallel pocket universe, you and I live next door to each other. We could have a robust conversation about politics, about Donald Trump over the garden wall, having a barbecue, whatever. I would respect your take on Donald Trump. You would respect mine. We could move on. It would be done within an inculcated atmosphere of respect for the other. Last night, Donald Trump, when I started listening to him, I have to say this, talking as a journalist who's followed this the past 5 years of the Trump administration, it was like he was one of his tweets given human form. It was 200 characters of shouting, of aggression, of just talking down a man who's had 47 years at the highest rank of American politics, and there was zero respect for Mr. Biden. Did political debate in America die last night just a little bit?
I don't think it died, but I think we've been evolving to get to this point that it's a bare knuckles situation now. I think what we on the right have always been concerned about is if we sit back politely, then the moderator tends to go over to the left side and all the pointed questions are towards the Republicans. So I think that's why the president came out swinging. I agree with you. It was like two old rivals at a high school dance who wanted to go out in the parking lot and settle their differences. But I think the president actually, intentionally did that. But remember, Joe Biden on national TV, international TV, called the president of the United States a clown. Who does that help? Joe Biden actually probably had some opportunities to take the high road, but instead he called the president a racist, a liar, which is also that Twitter kind of language that you might be able to say.
What do you say?
In certain circumstances.
Understood, sir. What do you say to that debate that's now happening all over the world, all the hashtags? Critics of the Republican Party and critics of you might say of Donald Trump, is he the best you've got? Really, big question mark. Because if you go back 5 years, starting with, I'm going to be indelicate here, grab them by the blank, fast forward to losers and suckers, go back to, I've got a big summit in Singapore with the North Korean leader, out of which he got nothing, yes. Fast forward again to zero tax in 10 of the last 15 years. Is he really the best man to be the next president of the United States, given what he's done over the past 5 years when he was candidate Trump and President Trump?
I would say that there is plenty of room to criticize President Trump. What we had with Romney, what we had with McCain were apologetic conservatives who would not stand up to their philosophy. Donald Trump has done more for the pro-life movement than any other president. He's done more for the world. He's talking about let's get American troops home from some of these endless wars that both Democrat and Republicans predecessors have gotten us involved in. He had the strongest, most robust economy, not just in America, but really in the world, with historically low unemployment rates for African Americans and Hispanics, higher wages that have increased. I think he's been tough at the trade table. I would like him to even be tougher, frankly. I think the America First doctrine is good, but it does not mean America alone. It means we're going to look after our interests. You need to look after your interests, but let's do what's best for the world. He has not fallen into any wars. He had the opportunity, and many advisors in both parties were saying, bomb Syria, let's get involved in this in a major way. Obama did not do enough. But the president has been very controlled about that. Okay. And, as respects, it is a growing global entity. And if people are more comfortable with China, then they need to sit back quietly. But if there are people who say, China could be a growing threat, they're building up their military, they're building a third aircraft carrier. They did not share information openly as respects the coronavirus. So I think the president's done a great job.
Jack Kingston, I apologize for interrupting you for a 27th time during our conversation. It was good to talk to you 4 days ago. It's good to talk to you now. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us here on the News Hour. Jack Kingston there talking to us from Georgia. Many thanks.
Thanks.